Hello, Mosaic Soul, and welcome back to Divine Earth School. Welcome back. I wanted to come on here and do a quick soul nugget here for you today. And I really wanted to talk about the power of creating your own narrative and being mindful of who you let speak into your life. So, a lot of times, us as Mosaic Souls, we are divinely called to do work in the world that maybe hasn't been done yet, right? Where we receive visions or divine downloads, as I like to call them, or we receive, heart nudges, and we feel very passionate or excited about something. And yet there's a fear that arises because we don't know how we're going to do it per se. Or maybe we have the how, but we might deal with second guessing ourselves or doubt and what we have been called to receive. And a lot of times when we do receive when we do feel this sort of second guessing energy, it comes from our programming, it comes from childhood wounding, it comes from adulthood wounding, and sort of patterns and scarcity and fear, lack-based thinking that has been passed down. And so a lot of times when we're feeling that, we will manifest friends or family or even colleagues or people that we admire speak sort of negative energy or lower vibrational energy into our lives because they're basically reflecting back to us our own fears and wounds and things that we haven't yet healed, right? And so I want to really encourage you to be steadfast and stay true to your higher calling, stay true to your vision, stay true to what your soul has given you as the blueprint or the next step, right? Because you don't feel it energetically. First of all, everything that we experience on our planet first is energy. We live in an energetic world, right? And so for us, when we receive divine downloads and when we experience the manifestation, it manifests first energetically, right? On an energy level for us, it could be emotionally, vision wise, like it comes through our six clairs, clairsentience, claircognizance, I can't remember the name of them, but you know what I'm talking about. All the clairs, right? Clear audience and all that stuff, right? And so we can see, hear, feel, taste, touch, sense, all that good stuff. And so we sense it energetically first before it becomes the full manifestation. And us as creatives, as divine beings, us as Mosaic souls, our job is then to, when it resonates, bring that vision to life in whatever form or shape it's supposed to come in. Not supposed to, but it can come in. There is no supposed to's on this planet. Everything is made up. But what we feel inspired to bring to life, right? And so a lot of times, because there is that process from idea to birth, there's this sort of gestation process, this creation process, this nurturing process, right? Of bringing something from idea to full birth to full adulthood form, right? Whatever that stage is, in terms of your creativity, in terms of your business, in terms of your relationships, in terms of your health, whatever. There's always this sort of stages that we go through. And a lot of times we are discouraged or we don't have the full support system yet because we haven't stood firmly in this new knowing of this version of ourselves that our higher self is calling us to. And so my encouragement here is to recognize that you are the creator of your own reality, right? And you are the one writing the script of your life. You are the one painting the canvas of your life. You're the one creating your masterpiece, your orchestral masterpiece. So you decide which note goes where. You decide how loud or soft you want it to be in the case of creating your masterpiece, orchestral masterpiece, right? I'm just using these as analogies to say, basically, you're the one in the driver's seat in terms of creating and moving forward with your visions and your divine downloads and your heart nudges and your internal knowings, right? And I want to encourage you to know that if you receive a divine download, if you receive an inner knowing on something, that is your higher self saying, this is the next possibility. This is here for you now. This exists in an energetic potential form now. This exists in a parallel reality already here and now. And so if you can understand that when you receive those things, it's not saying, oh, you can only receive it on an energetic or mental or emotional level. No, that means that you can actually actualize that vision into your reality. And I can give you countless examples of several times that I've done that in my life, my own life. But in general, the message here is just to understand that once you receive a divine download, it is your job, if you will, your journey to be steadfast on that and continue to move forward until it becomes actualized in this 3D reality, and to be mindful and to be aware of the people that you attract, or the messages that you attract, because you're the writer or the narrator or the person who's creating your own story. Be aware that people will bring narratives to you that doesn't align with the trajectory of your book, with the trajectory of your stage play, right? And that's perfectly fine. And how you honor that is say, I really appreciate your feedback. That doesn't resonate, but I appreciate what your intention was. I love you, and keep it moving, right? But a lot of times what we'll do is say, oh, well, if they think this or that, they think that, then maybe it's true. And a lot of times we do that is because, one, we value their opinion, one, we love them, and we know that they want the best for us a lot of times. And sometimes it could be people who are just malicious and just don't want to see you succeed as well. So be mindful of those haters. But in general, we let these people who haven't blazed this trail, like as Mosaic Souls, as divine beings, as creators, we are natural trailblazers. And so because we are natural trailblazers, we are doing something a lot of times that people haven't, it hasn't been done on the planet yet before. It hasn't been seen yet. That's why we're channelers. We're channeling something and birthing something to life, especially as creators, that hasn't been seen yet. And so there is no blueprint for it per se. There's other people whose trails might look similar to us, and we can kind of take, guidance here and there. But in general, we are coming up with something that's sort of new or innovative in our own right, or completely new in general, right? And so understanding that that is your task, that is your job, that is your sort of way of being in the world, allows you to understand that you don't take your cue, or you don't take advice, or take other people's, narratives with weight, because when you give them weight, you give them power in your life, and you allow them to deter your narrative. You allow them to deter your story, or create, different narratives in your life that you didn't even want to play out, right? And so recognize that when people are reflecting back that energy to you, it's really calling you to step further into doing your shadow work, into doing your inner healing, into healing your self-doubt, into healing your inner critic, into healing your heart and your chakras, your solar plexus chakra, your willpower, right? Healing your root chakra of safety and security, healing your sacral chakra of creative expression and sensuality and pleasure, and feeling safe in doing that, right? And when we don't recognize that these things are operating, we can let these things dictate our lives and stop us from being who we have been called to be. So that's really today's message, is to recognize that everyone's has their own narrative, right? And a lot of times people, when they speak negative into your life, one, it's reflecting your own inner doubts or self-disbelief, right? And two, or inner critic. And or two, it's their own stuff that has nothing to do with you, and you have the power to give it power in your life, or to not give it power, and recognize that that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with that person and their own shadow, or their own programming that they haven't yet faced or healed within themselves. And so when you recognize the game that's going on this planet, you don't really take it heavy, or think that, oh, they're being mean or anything like that. You just recognize that people, depending on their stage of consciousness, depending on the type of work that they're doing in their own life, they haven't healed their own wounds. They haven't healed their own programming. They haven't healed their own shadows. And so it's very natural for them to, even though natural doesn't mean correct in this per se, in this situation, it's basically giving you awareness that, oh, this person is operating out of this, vibrational frequency, which is perfectly fine. It has nothing to do with me. I'm gonna keep trekking and keep moving towards what I need to be doing, because that's what my higher self has called me to do. For example, I've had so many times where I've had divine downloads on things, right? Like even divine downloads in dreams and visions and things of that nature. I remember one year I had this vision of me like speaking in front of a room full of women, and I was just teaching and speaking and doing public speaking and things of that nature. I kid you not. I think it was like within 2 to 3 weeks later, I got invited to speak at an event, and it was a room full of women, and I was just, ignited, and I got so much good positive feedback and people who felt empowered by just that, the message that I was sharing. And it was just sort of like one of those divine downloads that if I hadn't really stepped into excuse me, my alarm just went off. But if I hadn't really stepped into my own power and let people sort of deter me, I wouldn't have done that speaking gig. I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity and been able to affect so many people from it, right? And so it's just recognizing that, when you have a divine download, when you have, I call them divine downloads, but they can come in whatever form or fashion or whatever clear resonates for you. But when you have that vision or that soul urge, right, to honor it, and it's not just there as a pipe dream. Most of the time it's there because it's a potential reality that you can step into if you just believe in yourself. If you just know that if your soul is calling you to do it, then sorry, my neighbor's being rude. But, if your soul is calling you to do it, then that's what you are being called to do, right? And another thing is, a lot of times people think that unconditional love or loving other people and stuff like that means that you become a doormat. And that is not what that means at all. Having an open, healthy heart chakra, having unconditional love for other people has nothing to do with being a doormat. It just simply means that you allow people to be as they are, just as they are, without needing them to be any other way in order for your well-being to be okay, right? You can love them as they are in whatever stage or phase of consciousness or phase of life that they are, right? And it just means that you can love them wholly because you see that there are aspects of yourself. You see that we're all connected, but that doesn't mean that you become a doormat. You can still have love and self-compassion and unconditional love for yourself because you hold space for your visions, your dreams, your calling, right? And you're extending that compassion to others, but you're also extending it to yourself, right? Because you know that what you have been called to do is to do your own unique creative work in the world, right? And so as a divine healer, as creatives, as teachers and things of that nature, that is what you're here to do in whatever form or capacity that resonates for. And so to recognize that basically loving someone and holding space for someone does not mean that you give them power over your life, give them power over your own narrative. We all have our own unique individual power to create our own lives and to write our own narratives. And so, of course, everyone gets a chance to do that. And by recognizing that that's true love, that's recognizing that you can hold space for other people without letting them sort of deter you on your own unique path, right? And so I wanted to just leave you guys with these encouraging words to recognize that be mindful that you are a creator of your own reality, and that when you receive things from your higher self, from your soul, that is your calling. That could be your next step. That potential reality exists already in a parallel reality. And all you need to do is step more fully into it and do the process to birth that reality into a reality. Hold on to it, not like gripping, like, oh, don't leave me, but like, knowing that, oh, okay, this is the next thing. And you just naturally move into it versus letting fear and self-doubt stop you from doing what your soul is calling you into. And secondly, be mindful of the people you let speak into your life. Not everyone necessarily has good intentions. Some people do have malicious intent. So be mindful of haters and people who have that type of energy, but also just our loved ones who just come from lack, scarcity, and fear-based thinking, because they haven't healed their own programming from childhood or adulthood or the world telling them something, or two, they haven't dealt with their own shadows, right? Or their senses of their feeling or sensing of inadequacies or feeling stuck or stagnant, right? And so when you start excelling or you start doing something that your heart is telling you to do, or when you step more fully into your power and doing the things that light you up, it triggers them because they're not doing it. And so that really has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own belief system and believing in their own, soul's blueprint for their lives, believing in their own ability to step more fully into their own power. No one really is a victim per se, in this sense, what I'm talking about, because we all have the power to create the lives that we want in a very powerful way. And there's so many stories, so many countless stories of people coming from literally rags to riches, right? Or from some complete terrible backgrounds and still making it, and whatever making it looks like for them, right? And so just recognizing that you have that power and that you don't have to necessarily succumb to other people's, narratives or fear-based thinking just because you want to stay the same or still be loved, right? If you have to diminish your light in order to be loved, that's not true love, right? That is not love, right? And so, we're really exploring that more deeply in my heart chakra healing challenge as we're healing our hearts together in the 14-day heart chakra healing challenge. So feel free to join me at divineearthschool.com/heart if that's something that you're interested in diving more fully into. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. I hope this message finds you well and that you continue your own journey in healing your heart and following your heart and doing what your soul is calling you to do, because you are powerful and the world really needs what your soul has called you to do. Really need you to step more fully into your power, because as a light worker, as a dark worker, as a divine infinite being, as a Mosaic soul, you're here to leave your unique blueprint on the world that only the way that you can. So I hope that this message finds you well. And as always, flow what feels good and let go of what doesn't, because you are divine. You are a divine being. Your soul knows exactly what you've come to explore and experience. So remember, what you conceive is what you'll receive. What you expect is what you'll get. And however you feel is what will become real for you. So vibrate higher and feel free to join me at the challenge at divineearthschool.com/heart. Peace, love, and light.